Hey, what's up? John Sonmez from simpleprogrammer.com. So I want to address a question that I get quite a bit about being prolific, how to become prolific. This is something that I think a lot of people could gain some value from if they could learn how to do this. And oftentimes, without tooting my own horn, I'm pretty prolific, right? I produce a ton of stuff, right? Every week I produce blog posts, YouTube videos, tons of content, right? When I was doing Pluralsight videos, I did the most Pluralsight videos, right? I did like 55 courses in like 2 years or so. I wrote my book, Soft Skills, 504-page book in like a few months. So how am I able to be prolific? How do I do this? So, and this isn't just me, right? There's a lot of very prolific people out there. One of them, Stephen King, right? How much does he write? Nora Roberts on the romance book, right? Also a very prolific writer. And you'll find a lot of different prolific people. Van Gogh was a very prolific painter, right? So one thing that I found in common with all those people, and that works specifically for me, is this idea of developing a system, right? Because when you try to produce a large number of things, you need a system, kind of a template that you use, that you repeatedly use in order to get things out. Because if you're trying to reinvent things on the fly, or reinvent the wheel every time, it's going to slow you down. And once you get a system or a framework in place, then you can really start pumping out content. So I'll give you a good example here. So for my Pluralsight videos, that was probably the most prolific thing that I've ever done, is producing. At one point, I was producing 2 to 3 hour courses on brand new topics in about 8 to 9 days, right? So obviously there's a component to that about learning things quickly, and I'm about to relaunch my 10 Steps to Learn Anything Quickly course. You can find that at 10stepstolearn.com. It'll be coming out in a few days if you're subscribed to my email newsletter, and you'll get a discount. There's kind of some bonuses and stuff in there, so definitely subscribe if you haven't already. But basically, besides learning quickly, one of the things that I did was I basically came up with a framework and a template that I used every time to produce a Pluralsight course. So if you look at some of the Pluralsight courses I did, like in the last 20 or 30 or so that I did, you'll notice they're all 5 modules long, right? They all have, the first module is the introduction module, and then every module in the course, or the courses, follow sort of a certain pattern, right? You'll notice that I usually, it depends on it, there was a few different templates I had, but most of the time I figured out a very effective template, which is one that the first few modules gradually built up concepts to a final application that we're building, and then the final module kind of wrapped everything up and put the finishing touches on it. And each module inside that course also had sort of a template. There was an alternation between slides and demos, and there was a structure for it, where I think at first, at the beginning of the module, I would declare what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, and then I'd walk you through it. And so and I also had a process that I had in place of how I did this. I had, I created a spreadsheet, and I would outline out the course, and then I would go and I would create the slides, and then I would go and find the images, and I had this whole process. I'm not going to go over the entire process, but essentially what that allowed me to do was to basically just start cranking it out, right? I would take this new content and I would put it into that template, that framework, and then do it. I wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel every time. And that's what I did when I write blog posts. That's what I do when I create these videos, for the most part, right? I'm sort of getting a new process here where I'm creating a little bit of these videos on the fly. I'm trying to build up this library to have a large amount of videos, but I also have a batch process where I have a crew come in and we shoot like 26 videos in one day. And that allows me to be prolific. Imagine, how much that could scale to. So that's kind of the key, is really you got to have some kind of framework or process. When you look at Stephen King, he has a specific thing that he does, a ritual. He writes 4 hours every day, I believe is what his thing is, or a certain number of pages, and he has to meet that every single day. And it's a fairly simple process. I'm sure he's probably got more to it, but when you start doing that, then you can get into a rhythm and you can just start cranking stuff out. And that's, I think a lot of people get stuck because they're always grinding gears. They never find this flow, they never find this rhythm. So if you want to be prolific, here's what you got to do. You got to take something that you want to be prolific at, right? And you got to figure out a way to make it into a system, into a framework that you can follow, and then you can repeat that process over and over and over again. And that's what's going to make you prolific more than anything else. There's so many examples of this. If you look, anytime you see someone producing a large number of things, look and see if they have a process. See, in fact, here's a pretty cool thing that you can do. So you can kind of reverse engineer this. So my daughter is reading right now a series of books called Magic Treehouse, right? And I'm listening to, she's got some of the audio versions and she reads them out loud. But there's like a lot of these books in this series. I think it's over like 50 or somewhere around maybe 80 books in this series. So this author, she has written all these books. And if you listen to the stories, they follow this format. They follow the same exact sequence, right? They're just set in different times historically, but there's kind of this, you can see the pattern. So you can see that she's got a template and a framework that she used, and that's how she's able to produce so many books, is she doesn't have to reinvent this thing. She knows, okay, first I need to create this, the introduction where it leads into the story, some kind of problem that they're going to solve. Then I have this whole magic, history place that they go, and then I have this problem that they solve there, a friend that they meet that helps them along the way, a lesson that they learn, and then a test for them to show what they're made of and to develop their character, and then they finally go back home and reflect on what they learned. It's something like that, right? But you can see it in every single one of those stories. If she tried to just invent totally different stories every time, I mean, the stories are different, but not use a template or framework like that, it would probably take longer. It'd probably be more difficult. She probably wouldn't be able to be as prolific. So anyway, if you want to apply this to your own life, that's what you got to do. You can even do this with things like writing code, right? You can come up with a system, a way that you attack problems that has a framework, that has a template that you can use. So this is especially effective with creative things, where people think that creative things can't follow a system, but they totally do. I would bet that prolific musicians have a way that they create new songs and that they create an album and that they produce new things. That is a system. That's a template. If you look and you look at anything that someone's produced where they're very prolific, you're going to find this. You just have to look for it. So anyway, if you want to be prolific, do this. Implement it. If you've got some thoughts about this or some good examples, leave a comment below. And if you like this channel, definitely subscribe. And I'll talk to you next time. Take care.